Hey.
Hey,
So I have the honor of speaking with the illustrious Tom Key, multi-hyphenate theater artist, Atlanta legend, and former artistic director at Theatrical Outfit. Thanks for talking with us, Tom.
oh, you bet. It's just great. It's great.
So, man,
Today, I have an announcement to make.
oh wow, okay.
T- Today is our 53rd wedding anniversary.
Oh, you and the missus. Oh, congratulations.
But the most important part is that we both forgot that.
Oh my God, that is so awesome.
We
Oh
both
God,
forgot it.
53 and 50. Okay. Oh
Yeah,
wow. Wow.
I
Um,
know.
so yeah, Tom, I would love for you to describe your artistic journey before you started TO, but also what was your awareness of theatrical outfit before you took the helm?
Great, great. Before Theatrical Outfit, there were 20 years of my working as an actor, as a playwright, as a director, and as a producer. And this took place in Birmingham, my hometown, and Atlanta, and Dallas, and New York. We made a decision to settle here in the mid 80s. Um, and part of that reason was that there was such a good, inviting, robust theater community.
Mhm.
And I had studied English as an undergraduate at University of Tennessee, and then I got a master's in theater.
Mhm.
And I was really interested where I was on the timeline of things in terms of theater. Um, and I uh, was real drawn to the idea of being an actor in a community um, that was that was just really, really important to me. The nonprofit theater movement was just starting.
Yeah.
That just started in 1959, and I got my equity card in 1974.
Right, right,
And there
right.
were only a handful of theaters like that. And I had worked in New York, and the idea there's being a part of the industry, and then it seemed like there was a possibility for being a part of a community.
Mm.
And I I produced some one-man shows. I worked at the Alliance at the Dallas Theater Center. I was artistic director of Birmingham Children's Theater for a year. Um, I wrote Cotton Patch Gospel that turned into an off-Broadway musical, and about 5 years of my life were taken up with that. And did a 6-month run of that at the what's now the Hurt stage at the Alliance, and a 7-month run that the Dallas Theater Center presented. So, with all of this varied experience, and we had two children and wanted a third, and we were in our mid 30s, and it felt like it was time to kind of dig roots somewhere. And we were either going to go back to New York or to Atlanta, and we decided on Atlanta. And I remembered Theatrical Outfit was kind of, well, two things. One, I thought it was spectacular the way it started. It seems to me that there's no better way to start a theater company than a group of people who have a vision and a passion, and they just haul off and do it.
Yeah.
And um, and being in that theater, I saw the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and then later Hamlet the musical, and it was just wildly creative. It was wildly creative, and so then about from once we moved here, after about 10 years, I felt like it was time to either grow or go
Mm.
and challenge myself in some way. and I started a nonprofit theater company and co-produced a new production of Cotton Patch Gospel with the Alliance that Kenny wanted to do with a big expanded multiracial cast. And I thought, well, this will be the start of my theater company. And in the middle of the run, I got a call from Theatrical Outfit, and they were leaving. Philip DuPois was leaving, and they wondered if I were interested. They noticed I had formed this nonprofit theater company, but if I wanted to work with them. And we had a great conversation over that summer. Uh, I presented a whole budget of what I think would be required, and we both had the same sense of it's time to grow or go.
Right.
It was a great match. So that was some of the way it started.
Okay. Okay. So what was Atlanta like when you guys landed here, and how do you think the city informed or shaped the work that you were making at the time?
Well, for one thing, I loved Atlanta. I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama,
Mhm.
and when the 16th Street Baptist Church was bombed and the four girls were lost, I was their age.
Oh wow.
And then, of course, there was the Civil Rights Movement, and it was called Bombingham at the time, and there was the Vietnam War, and very turbulent times. And my dad used to take my brother and me from Birmingham to Atlanta to see Georgia Tech football games. And I
Uh,
can remember coming over that two-lane highway, over that bridge, and
uh,
seeing the skyline of Atlanta, which when I was a boy, it was about the same skyline as Birmingham. And over the years, it just kept growing and growing. And their response to Atlanta's response to the civil rights movement was so different than Birmingham's. So there was that appeal.
mm,
There seemed to be a graciousness in the people of Atlanta, and and then, but when I became part of the theater community, and then became an artistic director, which is a huge step to take. A number of things were happening that I think were important in terms of the art form. One was there was no middle class of theater. There was the budget that the Alliance had, and then there was everybody else. There was this big income gap. And then also there was a real shortage of space. If you were a sustaining theater company or if you were a new one, and there were a lot of those that popped up in the late 80s and 90s, you really just had the 14th Street Playhouse to rent a space there. And it's very difficult to have a lasting impact and create an identity when you're using a generic space that other theater companies are using.
right.
And and then also the fact that that Kenny became the first black person to head a major resident theater was huge. We threw us to the tip of the spear of what is this going to look like, and how do we make the theater form, more inclusive. It was just a wonderful challenge. And then the growth of the film and television industry here. So what we did in terms of the income gap and the shortage of space, immediately, one of the things I presented in the budget to the outfit, I said uh, they had accomplished so much in their 20 years, just like I'd had 20 years, the theatrical outfit had had about that. And their contributions to the community just were essential and wonderful. And I thought that I presented a budget that was tripling, just about tripling what Theatrical Outfit paid artists. But I
Mm,
believe if you really invest in the artist, that ticket sales will follow and then funding will follow. And sure enough, in about 3 years, we had doubled the budget of Theatrical Outfit, and it was a great. It was very exciting. And then from the very beginning, I had announced that we need our own theater space. And then the Olympics, which had just happened in 1996, and I had started in 1995, we're creating this whole space at the center of our community, which is where I thought the art form belonged and need to be alive and well. You want to protest, you go downtown. You want to maximize your ability to heard, you hear to be heard, you go to the center of the city. And so we did our first few years at 14th Street Playhouse because that's where the theatrical outfit had moved to at that point. And we moved downtown to the Rialto, which had just been renovated for the theater. And they had us as the theater company in residence there, an 800-seat theater. But we did that in large part, not just to go downtown, but to prove to the funding community that we could attract a major audience to downtown Atlanta. And and our goal, we had a strategic plan. It was to open our own theater in 2005, and that's what happened with the world-class Balzer Theater at Herons. Um, there was an odd formula that the funding community had about capital campaigns for theater. They said you should take your capital campaign, say it's $1 million, and then take the number of seats you have in your theater and
Uh,
divide the capital campaign by that so that you can tell how much you're paying per seat. And we listened to that. There was a kind of a logic to it, but
right.
we made an argument that downtown Atlanta we have a world-class airport, we have world-class meeting centers, hotels, restaurants. We needed a world-class theater company. So the average capital campaign price up until that time had been about 500,000 to about 1,200,000. Ours was 6.5.
Oh, wow.
And yet it proved to be such a great investment. The first theater in the country to be LEED certified.
Mhm.
One of the qualifications for which is clean, quiet air, which is very important to a live theater company.
It is.
So these what could be challenges, that we came up with, they're invitations. I can see in hindsight, they're invitations to grow, they're invitations to evolve,
Yeah.
and also, I think that's well, there was something that still is going on is very active today. We had newspapers then.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly.
We had newspapers, about two radio stations and about one television station,
Right.
where we could get publicity. And that was a whole system of communication that
Hmm.
if you pull the camera back and you look at it, you say, well, this is really kind of stuck in a loop, and how do we break that open and find new ways to make the theater appreciated. So that was it was a great adventure. It was a great adventure.
Yeah, definitely. So, what other theaters or organizations, whether they're arts organizations or community organizations, uh, was Theatrical Outfit in community with when you were creating work during that?
Oh, one thing that was so fun was the first show that Susan Booth saw when she came to Atlanta in 2001 to become artistic director at the Alliance. First show she saw, she came down to the Rialto Theater and saw our world premiere of a new musical, The People versus Mona.
Oh,
And she was
wow.
blown away, and she said, "Where did you get those actors?" And I puffed up my chest and said, "They're all from Atlanta. They're all from Atlanta." And we ended up co-producing together, as well as with the um, with the Aurora Theater. We did three co-productions, and
Amazing.
And after we had gone to Balser Theater at Herons, we did these at the Rialto, Memphis, and In the Heights, and the Hunchback of Notre Dame. And of course, there was our next door neighbor, the Rialto, who was great. Um, who else? The Atlanta Opera. Also, the first theater that Tomer Zebulun visited when he came to Atlanta was Theatrical Outfit.
Oh, wow.
And he was blown away by the space and immediately knew he wanted to do a play in their Discovery series where they go outside of the Cobb Energy Center. And we did the world premiere of a Jake Keggy opera there at the Balser Theater at Herons with them, and it was, and the global Atlanta, I mean, the global opera community who would come to Atlanta to see this premiere, every one of them were like blown away by the acoustics
Oh, wow.
in there. And then also, what I think is important is that there were some funding sources that were extremely about targeting the small to medium-sized theater as as well as giving us time and means to talk with one another instead of just catching up when we were on panels together. There was the Metropolitan Atlanta Arts Fund that was targeting small to medium-sized theaters, giving major grants, game changer. There was the Bloomberg Foundation that was not only giving incredible grants, but offering or requiring, and it was so worthwhile, to have the expertise nationally of marketing production people to come in and work with the theaters over a period of 3 years about just how to go about it better, which was fantastic. And then the Loredon's Foundation uh, sent out an invitation to apply for a $300,000 grant to be given to one of us five in-town theaters, Horizon Theatrical Outfit, the Atlanta Shakespeare Company, Seven Stages, um, and it would be 100,000 for 3 years, and this was just amazing. So we all wrote our applications, and they were so impressed with our applications that they got another foundation in on it, and they gave it to all of us. And and they also paid for a trip for us to all take to go to New York and see theater.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it was just so great to have this. And then the in-town theaters also, we formed a group and we met about once a month. Again, just that support
Mhm.
and sharing of knowledge and experience was great. And we made some real strides in partnerships. So, one of the big things I learned, you don't do any of this stuff on your own. You know, it's a collaborative art form, and life is a collaborative art form. So, those were happy relationships.
Yeah, no, definitely. And as you were saying, there were so many theaters in the city at that time. What do you think made theatrical outfits stand out? Like what made TO different than some of the collaborators and friends in the community?
Well, I think for one, I think it was our building, our theater.
Mhm.
Um, you might not know why. The big response we'd get to people coming to the theater and seeing it for the first time was always they come in, see the theater, and go, wow. And then they talk about how just welcoming you feel.
Hmm.
Part of that has to do with the lead certification,
Okay. Yeah.
just the materials
Mhm.
that the carpet's made out of, the quality of the air. You don't know that stuff, but it's really. And in graduate school, this is crazy, but in graduate school, I had learned about the Greek theater.
Oh
The
yeah.
reason the stadium kind of seating work and the acoustics are so great is because sight lines contribute to being heard so that you can see the actor. And they said the heaviest part of your body is your head. So if you have to look up, there's a slight strain all the time that you're looking. But if you're looking at eye level or down, you're more comfortable and relaxed.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Isn't
That
that
makes complete
something?
sense.
And
Yeah.
and so it's and the comfort level of the seats, those kind of things were just really, really important to us. And you can tell when the air is fresh, you know. So I think there was that. And then there was one thing that occurred to me. Of course, we'd get a lot of complaints about the parking, about being asked for money, all that stuff. And one day I was trying to think, I love our audience so much. Um, and I thought, you know what? There are people who, if will not embrace, at least are intensely curious about the radical diversity of downtown Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I think that was important, that sense of we're at the center. This isn't just a neighborhood.
Right.
This is the center. And then I think we were very pro-union because 2 years before it became Theatrical Outfit came to be, I got my equity card.
Right.
And so it was just a given that we were going to contract with equity and to maximize our quality in productions. And if equity would give us a percentage of you have to earn you have to hire 3 actors out of 5. Uh, we paid attention to that, but if 4 or 5 actors were right for the part, we did 5 equity contracts,
Right.
and that just was worked into our budget. And we if an actor got another job that had more remuneration, uh, I don't know if I just said that word right, but if they were making more money at another job, which is probably a film or television gig, we would celebrate with them and we
Yeah.
would have an understudy, to go on instead of making them feel wretched and bad, for doing that. So I think uh, just being real committed to making the best kind of experience possible for our artists. Uh, I think those are, um, I think that, I think that gets at,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. And it's great to hear too, because much of that hasn't changed. So that's great. That's great to know. That's great to know. That's great to know. If there were two productions during your tenure that you think personify both, I guess, the vision and the ethos of TO, what
uh
what two would those be?
I think one of them, and this is a tough one, because we did a lot over
Yeah.
25 years, but pretty easily, I have to say Blood Knot
Mm-hmm.
for a number of reasons. One is it's an incredible drama.
Mm-hmm.
It's an incredible drama. One of our board members, interestingly, was terrified that we were going to do it because she had seen it in London. Said it was real boring. It went on for 4 hours. I said, just you wait.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it was the fact that we did it twice, once in 1999, 1998 at the 14th Street Playhouse, and then again in 2009 as a co-production with True Colors at the Balzer Theater. And David Bell directed the first one, and Susan directed the second one.
Oh wow, I didn't know this was a director. Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. And the fact and that 3 artistic directors would, because Kenny was doing True Colors Theater in the second production, um, would collaborate to tell this story in downtown about what is the blood knot?
Mm.
It's the bond between brothers. And it was a disturbing play, it was a confrontational play, and it was a beautiful play, and it was an essential play. And it turned into not just a wonderful success, but a kind of a moment in the theater community
Hmm.
of we're not all just our own little kingdoms of theaters here. The more we find ways to collaborate our strengths, the better. And it just hit a nerve of how uh, how far we have to go
Hmm.
with wondering, with understanding how we human beings belong to one another. And that's one of the great stories for realizing the truth of that, that we belong to one another.
Yeah.
So that was one. The second one was Janice Schaefer's Brownie Points.
Oh wow, I love that piece.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a world premiere, and it was about five women who planned. They all were head of their Girl Scout, their Brownie Scout troop with their daughters were all involved, and five of them go on this weekend retreat planning for the next year. And two of the women are black, and without conscious attention, they happen to get assigned all the cooking and cleaning up, and drama proceeds
Yeah, definitely.
from that. And as breathtaking as it was at how shocking this specific event was, it was also as hilarious. And I've heard cultural psychologists define laughter as an evolutionary sign of agreement.
Mm,
And I think that's one reason the play was so funny, not because it was presenting life as we would like it to be,
right.
but agreeing with our laughter that this is what it's like. We got some miles to go before we sleep, and it's a good journey. And what made it so special was not just the story, not just the content, but it was Janice Schaefer's obsession with reaching out to the community. I mean, she was a work of art in doing this. She wanted people to, in our agreement, to to produce it. She said we've got to have a talk back every night for
Mm,
20 minutes, monitored
right.
by the Anti-Defamation League, who were experienced in monitoring these kind of things. Just one conversation out of so many that came out of that. And this was before Black Lives Matter. This is way before Trevor Martin.
Hmm.
Uh, Now to say this was a question is kind of remarkable, but and the most of the audience would stay for the talk back because they were so ready to. And one time, a white man, there's an incident in the story where one of the black women, played by Terry Burrell, was on her way to the retreat, um, and she's driving a very expensive car, and she gets pulled over by the police.
Hmm.
And she just, it's a terrible experience. And she's really shaken up when she arrives. And after the show was over, a white man asked the question, is that really something that could happen to a black person now?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this black man raised his hand and said, and I think because they all had the background of, look, hey, we've all come downtown, we've all seen this play, we've all exposed ourselves about being interested in this.
Hmm.
So I think there was an unusual opportunity for people to feel safe in asking the questions that they needed to. And the black man said, I have a 15-year-old teenager and I'm teaching him how to drive. And I'm teaching him not just the skills of how to drive, but what to do when, not if, but when you're pulled over.
Yeah.
And those two people became friends and
Oh,
met
wow.
and met for years later. And it was so educational to the audience.
Yeah.
So the pumping up a production so that you had 20-minute moderated discussion in the audience was just golden. It
Yeah.
gave us something to aspire to.
Yeah. No, I had the honor of working on that piece when she was doing early readings at Horizon. And so it was, oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
wonderful piece. Um, so in what ways do you think your time at TO continues to impact the work that you do?
Wow. When I became artistic director at Theatrical Outfit about a year later, I started in the fall of 1995. I think this was in the spring of 1996, just before the Olympics. And
Mhm.
they had a cultural Olympiad. And we got, meaning artistic leaders, got invited to this presentation by Anne Bogart, who was a real hero of mine. And she said something that made a real impact on me. And that was if we come up to something, her talk was titled something like 10 Things I Know from Experience, not just theories, but I've lived long enough to know this is true. She said, if we come across something bigger than us in life, we can either let it overwhelm us and crush us and diminish us,
Mhm.
or we can expand to be a bigger entity. We can be bigger as than that challenge, than that obstacle. Um, and that really struck me
Mhm.
because there were a lot of times I we had specific goals. One thing I, one thing that was so funny was when I first took the job, uh, I was convinced I would do this for three, maybe 5 years. What I didn't realize is that you have these goals that you want to do, and then when you actually see them work and come true, then you think, wow, if we did this, then we might could do that,
Exactly.
from that level where you're standing. And so I had a lot of times that I just wanted to quit.
Mm,
And I learned that there was a big difference to me in the word quitting and finishing.
mm, right.
And I kept on thinking about that talk by Anne Bogart, if you come up with something bigger. And I felt like, what if I give up because it's just too hard or it just seems impossible, or I'm tired of the nonsense and the craziness. Um, I could quit, but I'm going to deal with this some other way in life.
Right.
And so it was real interesting too because when I started, it was kind of like I had this beginning energy. I had this crazy, we're going to do everything and it's going to be great all the time. And then I had middle energy, sustaining it, keeping it going, which is a different kind of energy.
Right.
And then there was a let's finish this energy. And we took 3 years to put together a capital campaign and most importantly, to seek out a successor and increase or beef up our board. There was a time to finish and to let it go to someone and another team that could take it further. And so uh, I think that as a result, after those 25 years, um, I'm less terrified by the uncertain and the unknown. and I'm at least more curious, if not even on my better days, kind of accepting and grateful for a new challenge and a new invitation to become, uh, to keep becoming a human being.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, since you have continued to be a part of the TO family, and also since you're really well aware of all the challenges that theater companies across the country have to encounter now, um, what do you see for the next 50 years for TL?
I think Tio is really positioned to and is heading toward being the kind of company, the kind of place that is so good and so relevant that you would be embarrassed to admit to your friends you hadn't been there yet. It, it would just be this essential part of the engine that is Atlanta, and with an impact that reaches around the globe. Um, I think that's really possible.
Yeah.
Uh, I I think just in the last 6 years, I knew in my head before the pandemic, uh, in that last year, and after we had hired Matt, and I was so excited about him and what he was going to do, and I said, this is going to be great, and I know he'll have headwinds.
Right.
Something will come up just like it did for us. Tra la. I never would have imagined a global pandemic. And the way the outfit um, pivoted
Yeah.
and rode that wave to a better place was just amazing. Um, so I just think it's a matter of persisting. Uh, and when the when the mission is true, which I believe is true, that uh, we create the conversations that matter. Um, as long as that is held as the measuring stick, progress toward that, um, a way will be revealed
Mm.
of how that comes. There's so many times and places I look back on and I thought, there's no way I could have imagined how we would get through this or that. But also, I never could have imagined such wonderful things that would come out of what we did when our backs were up against a wall. Yeah.
Yeah. Tom, thank you for your persistence, for your continued support and collaboration through all these years. You are a wonderful, gracious, and important part of our lives. Thank you.
You're so welcome. I love Theatrical Outfit.